Hey you guys, and welcome back to the Designer's Room where we go beyond the lash line. My name is Uni and I'm a mother, lash designer, and lash design mentor. We're going to be talking about specialty lash designing and maybe the most transformative portion of designing lashes, defining you, that I just wanted to bring here in this space and share with you all, and hopefully it transforms your careers in the same way. What's been sitting on my spirit this week is pruning, what the pruning season actually looks like. And I'm still trying to figure out what that means for me. Have you ever went through something and you couldn't really describe or put a name to it, but you knew exactly that was what you were going through? That's what I'm enduring. Realizing that I'm becoming more aligned with my purpose and where I'm at, and accepting that everything is so intentional, even if it doesn't line up with my perception of what success looks like. I remember last week I was more focused on stewardship, and I kind of sort of still am, but I'm going deeper this week and diving into all of the more uncomfortable parts, the self reflection of my ego and where it sits, and examining my heart space. I'm a true deep thinker, and I feel like everything happens for a reason. I feel like God's alignment is too intentional for it to just be a coincidence. I feel like I've grown in my identity here in this lashing space. As I've expressed to you guys continuously, that I've been trying to gravitate more towards my calling of nurturing others and supporting others and being there intentionally, being present and in the moment, even when the moment feels uncomfortable. I've been reshaping a lot of my content too, and trying to experiment with content that is aligned with my soul. If you've been watching Poise Lux for a while, you know that there was a point in time I never showed my face here because I felt like all of who I was as good as what I had to offer, and that was lash designing, until God put it on my heart to get into more than just education, but spending time with people and mentoring them and observing and contributing to true transformation in other people. So I realized that I'm attracting a different type of audience, and I'm always tracking my analytics on social media, and I see that I gain a lot of followers, but at the same time, I'm losing followers too. And it's been kind of uncomfortable. It's been uncomfortable because I know that what I'm doing is valuable. I know that the podcast and YouTube episodes that I put out are valuable. I know that my watch or my reach can be really small right now, but I know that I'm touching people in an intentional way. And I don't know. I don't want to cry. Like, what? I don't know why I feel like crying now. I feel like it's the spirit on me of just, oh my gosh, why am I crying right now? I was not planning to cry. I was not planning to shed a tear at all. But I don't know. I'm in this season of getting closer to my identity and my purpose, and I feel it. And I think that's the feeling I'm having right now. And it's kind of overwhelming. These tears are not from a place of sadness, but they're really from a place of realizing that my purpose is much greater than just a lash set, but I have the ability to change lives in an impactful way, and I'm stepping into that. So to see you guys enjoy these videos, and I see all the kind comments about the changes in the type of content that I'm putting out, at the same time to see a lot of people leave too, I think anybody would kind of like look at themselves and be like, is there something I'm really not doing right? What is it? So I can say that that's where I've felt both growth and resistance. And I've had to just be 100% obedient to God. I think obedience is another thing that I've been pressing into, is obedience. Being obedient to my calling, even when the circumstances don't look favorable, if that makes sense. How does this reflect in my artistry? I think it reflects in a way that everything that I want to do is to transform or to impact in a positive way. So this may not look like jumping on the latest of trends. This may not look like keeping up with what's the hottest thing in the industry. I've been really intentional about the models and the type of lash mobs and the techniques because it's not just for show, it's for a long lasting impression. So this has really been reflected even in my design practices now. As most of you know, Unique by Poise Luxe will be coming up with a whole new drop, and that drop I've been able to experiment my design skills in such a unique way, and my designs are even more intentional, and my craftsmanship has developed too. I really wanted to talk about what it means to be successful, redefining lash artist success. I think no one decides to get into any type of industry and not strive for success. What does it actually mean to be successful as a lash artist? I always like to say, I like to produce work that makes me feel like if I didn't get paid for it, I'd be happy. I remember having like model calls where I wouldn't charge, but people would tip me like maybe $10 or $20, and I'd be so happy with my $10 or $20 going to a drive-through or going to sit down at a Chipotle, just reflecting on the artistry that I just poured into. We can't avoid that. We have to put a number to the things that we produce, right? It made me feel good that I was producing work that I love to do and people were willing to pay for it. And even when I didn't ask for payment for it, and even if I got paid $10 or $15 for it, I was happy too. That's what true success looked like for me. In the early stages, it never looked like that. I was just doing classic volume hybrid sets because I was getting paid for it and bills existed. And I wasn't in love with the sets that I created. I was just doing it because, hey, this bill is due on the 5th and it's the 1st. So I need to do as many classics or as many volumes or as many hybrid sets, run a promotion if I need to. It was one of those things. There was no true balance between being creative and loving what I was creating and being paid for it. So I think true success is getting to that sweet spot. Why do so many lash artists hit a plateau? A lot of lash artists hit a flat line in the lash industry because, one, social media exists. I feel like a lot of comparison with other people creeps in, and it's hard to not doubt where you are in your journey when you see someone else looking like they're excelling in theirs. And then two, like I said, when what you do or what you love to do is intertwined with what keeps a roof over your head, it's hard to really balance the ability to be as creative as you'd like. And this all goes into what contributes to that plateau. What changed in my journey when I stopped replicating and started creating? I wasn't just getting my lash maps from Pinterest. I wasn't just getting my lash maps from Google. I fell in love with my work continuously because I seen every client as an opportunity to create something unique. And that's what feeds me, is having a task, even if it's a small task, that 2.5 to 3 hours, to make my client feel like a elevated version of themselves, not just them plus lashes, and do it from a place of studying that individual and being intentional. What's coming upon me as I say that is the love languages, if that makes sense. So noticing something about an individual and pouring it into that service to cater to that individual, that's what really feeds me. So if I'm having a consultation with someone who's a mother, a new mother, and I just know as a mom myself, what in a lash design would make her daily life a lot better, would make her feel good about herself, not just any old lashes, but lashes that cater to her beauty. People were not just visiting me because I was running a $50 special. They were coming to me because I was giving out transformations. If I was to simplify what made me successful in this industry, it was lessening the outside noise and finding what works really well for me as it pertains to specialty lash designing. I found the technique that I love to do and that clients would fly across the country, across state lines, hours to come in and get. They loved it as much as I did. When you start to do what you love to do, other people fall in love with what you love to do. It's this constant, consistent ecosystem of self-love that is priceless. Now I want to talk about what even is a specialty technique. A specialty technique is what I like to refer as the personality of a generic lash map. So if you are doing a cat eye on a client after you do her client facial analysis, you come to the conclusion that you would benefit from a mapping with the base of a cat eye. You don't just do a basic cat eye. What you want to do is take it a step further and include her personality into the set. Maybe what will make her life easier, what she usually does on the day to day, or even her personal style. I had touched on this when we were talking about Janae's lashes in the last episode. I would assume that Janae likes all things glam. With that being said, there are certain specialty techniques that lean more towards catering to her personality, which, when I suggested, would have been the texture technique. If you have someone who, for instance, is a clean girl, she likes the clean girl aesthetic. We're still on the topic of cat eye, right? So for Janae, we did a texture cat eye. For this clean girl, we're also doing a cat eye, but the specialty will be different. Maybe the specialty will be versa, something that opens her eye and elongates it, but it's not as full. Or it can be an anime specialty, something that gives her more accents and it looks very natural, not as full or as voluminous as the texture technique. There are different specialty techniques to cater to different personalities. And the specialty technique is what really reels someone in, but it also helps you discover who you are as an artist. For me, like I said, I've developed all these specialty techniques. Specialty technique, application, all that stuff. It's something that I just brainstormed a few years ago and I created it and made it a part of my artistry. My golden specialty technique will always be textured because I'm great at it. I love it. And it's a style that I can do all day and not get tired of it. That and illusionary styling. I fell in love with Jay and L Curl from the first moment I met them. And I can say that I can do illusionary lash styling in my sleep. I love to create illusions. I love to do thick wings, thin wings, triple wings, double wings, soft wings, sharp wings, all types of eyeliner effects and different bottom lash or bottom mascara, bottom eyeliner illusions. For someone who would benefit from a cat eye based mapping who wears eyeliner every day, they would go the illusionary lash styling route, which calls for different specialty skills. And different specialty skills are basically the skills used in those specialty techniques to bring that specialty technique to life. Why do I think most lash maps feel copy and paste and uninspired? Because they are. A lot of the time when you are purchasing an ebook or you are inquiring about a lash map, you are not always inquiring with the intention to know why certain lengths, why certain curls, and why certain styling decisions were made. You are only interested in the numbers that were applied so you can copy it from that and then paste it on someone else. That is the number one reason that I feel like they're uninspired. Because if you don't know the thought process behind doing something and you do it anyway, you're doing it to copy and paste. You are not doing it from a place of wanting to understand so you can better your technique and you can better your design decisions to move forward. This is the number one thing I talk about in designing lashes, defining you, specializing your artistry. How can you niche down in your business, be well known for something? My goal is to have you be known for something in your city that no one else can go anywhere else for. Week 4 of DLDU dives into what it means to specialize your artistry. It goes beyond just, I know how to do a hybrid, classic, volume, mega volume set. It takes it a step further and finds the personality for that said client, but also the artistry that you love to execute continuously. This is the part where you find your identity in the lash industry. And I think that's the reason why week 4 has been the most popular week in designing lashes, defining you. Why do artists get nervous about stepping outside the standard mapping box? Because they don't trust themselves. They don't trust themselves to make unique styling decisions, and it's coming from a place of, hey, I'm only used to copying and pasting lash maps. I have no clue why B was selected. I have no clue why we use 0.03 instead of 0.07 here for this type of lash spike. It's a lot of lack of understanding. So when you are faced with an assignment, you don't know how to go about it because you don't have an understanding of the tools that you're using. So that's why specialty lash styling is important, as well as the specialty skills. You have to understand the skill and why we do certain things. So when you have opportunities walk in, you have more confidence to apply what it is that the client is asking for. I feel that a lot of people who are stuck doing the same things over and over again, or are transitioning into something new. You're so used to the old way of doing things because you've grown comfortable with knowing what to expect. Entering into a season of not really knowing what to expect feels uncomfortable. And when you set new standards for yourself, you're going to lose people who do not meet that standard. I remember when I was a beginner artist charging $50 or $75 for a full set. The moment I took a huge leap of faith and decided to go from 50 to 70, $75 all the way to $150, that was a $75 to $100 price increase. A lot of people who were visiting me for the pricing I had charged before stopped visiting me then. And I can remember that it was scary, but I believe that the reward on the other side of not exhausting myself and also feeding into my value and submitting to my value was much greater. I can even say in me maturing as an individual outside of the lash industry that I've had to lose a lot of things that I was comfortable with. I've transitioned into a new home, a new area. I've met new friends, but I've also lost friends that I thought were going to be here for a very long time. I ended a relationship. There was a lot of losing. I think when I had those things a part of me, I couldn't have imagined the life that I have now without them. And for the most part, now I'm a lot more satisfied than I was before, but the transition was scary. I want to connect this with a verse that I've came across in the book of John, John 15:2. It says, "He prunes every branch that does not bear fruit, so it will be even more fruitful." And when I come across this verse and when I read this verse, I think about my season now of plants. It was very interesting to me that when you have a plant and some of its leaves are declining, it is the proper process or the proper plant etiquette to trim those leaves that are no longer fruitful. When that plant still has things attached to it that are not breathing life, then the plant's roots tend to pour more into that side of the plant versus letting it go. So even when that part of the plant, it looks dead and gone already, it's still attached to the root. So it's still consuming energy that can be put into the parts of the plant that are actually bearing fruit. And it's made me really think about how losing things in this season, it's not always a bad thing. In fact, when you lose something, you're actually gaining either strength or you're gaining something much greater. At the end of the day, you're going to gain. Whether it's knowledge, whether it's more resilience, you're gaining something in the midst of losing something. This may just be a sign for someone if you are transitioning into something, another area of your life, and it feels also scary because you are comfortable where you're at. This needs to be your sign that you're exactly where you need to be. And this transition is going to play a huge part in the development of such a much greater version of yourself. I don't know who needs to hear that, but it was on my heart to speak on that because it's happening for me. I hope that this encourages you to know that creativity sometimes requires sacrifice. I hope that this video encourages you to stop chasing trends and instead chasing creativity. I hope that you have learned more about specialty lash designing and it's inspired you to look a little bit deeper in the way that you've been lashing lately. And if you are in a season where things feel slow or you feel like you're losing more than you are gaining, you just may be in a season of pruning, and that is okay. You're exactly where you need to be. If the thought of specialty lash designing really caught your attention, I highly recommend looking into Designing Lashes Defining You. I've got rid of all of my online courses just to offer this one program that allows you to do the amount of self-reflection and self-discovery that I did that contributed to my success in this industry. It's 8 weeks of your time that will transform your career for the better. And I stand on that. I 100% believe that. And as you know, we are going on tour this fall, which I'll have those details within the caption as well for you to see our tour stops and hopefully join us. Until next time, I'll see you all back in the designer's room. Bye.